she started telling everyone that she wrote it, even though she knew I wrote every word. Yep. Yeah, she takes credit for everything.
Time to sip on some tea. That's some good tea. Ah, that's hot, hot, hot. Oh bother, I spilled tea all over myself. Even worse, it's expired. This tea's from 2009. 2009 was a strange year for Power Rangers. A lot of unknown with the future of the franchise. But one man stepped up to the plate, eager to bring the series back with a pitch so good, Disney, then owners of the show, couldn't refuse. But instead, we got a tale of confusion, possibly false connections, and Mickey Mouse striking back. Just who was this mysterious individual? And I know how the internet works. I just want to say, don't go after anyone. What I'm going over happened long ago. I don't condone any sort of harassment. And without further ado, let's get into how one person caused a legendary stir-up on one of Power Rangers' oldest messaging boards. First, we need to understand how this person fits into the story. We are at the end of the Disney era, a period of time where Disney would own and produce the show that they acquired from Saban, airing on their own channels instead of the now-defunct Fox Kids. Disney had a strange relationship with the show, and initially didn't want much to do with it. The show was saved from ending thanks to production moving from the US to New Zealand in 2003 to save on costs. But towards the end of their run, the last few years would have the possibility of being the final season. That became true for Power Rangers RPM, then Disney's bookending entry to the series. Stateside, the show wasn't even given a time slot on Disney XD, the newest channel aimed at older kids with a more hip and radical vibe. Instead, it was pushed to Toon Disney, where it aired at very odd times, or if your area was like mine, not at all. After this season, the show was donezo. At that point, nothing ahead for Power Rangers. Our story begins not at the TV, but on the internet, the high-tech cyberspace where anyone who's anyone can talk to millions of people around the world.
See, there's thousands of sites on the internet where you can get information on all kinds of things and discuss from movies to politics.
My fellow Americans, we got a #1 victory royale.
Back in the day, if you were a fan of something and needed an outlet to talk about it, you would visit a highly specialized community. Web forums. Only the best of the best of the best fans would frequent these spaces, also called message boards. One in particular was the ever-popular RangerBoard. RangerBoard is exactly as it sounds. It's a message board for Power Rangers. I personally lurked it quite a bit when I was a wee lad, but one fateful day on January 26, 2009, a peculiar thread would appear. Hello from Power Rangers creator. Big title, not in character count, but with how bold it is. Who could this creator be? Here are your suspects. Haim Saban, the individual who found Power Rangers' original source material, Super Sentai, while on a business trip to Japan, and would pitch it to networks for years before it got picked up. Margaret Loesch, the network executive who recognized Super Sentai from a previous project, and was the one who approved the show from Haim Saban's pitch. Would be weird to claim being the creator, though. Next, there's Stan Lee. Yes, that's Stan Lee of Marvel, who was the individual that Loesch worked with in the 70s. He had seen the potential in Sentai and even collaborated with Toei on a few seasons after producing a Japanese Spider-Man show with them. In an alternate universe, Stan Lee was almost the one who brought Sentai to the West. Last is Shotaro Ishinomori, the actual creator of Super Sentai, which would eventually lead into Power Rangers. But it's likely not him. He died a decade before this thread was made. So our only reasonable suspect seems to be Haim Saban, the literal creator. But spoilers, he's not it. It's a mystery just who would be so bold to claim the title of the show's creator. But what if I told you it was none of these people? Thankfully, the identity of the original poster wasn't too hard to figure out. Enter Jack Olesker. Not Jack Olesker, trust me, I had a hard time not saying that while recording this. He's the self-proclaimed creator of the original series Bible for Power Rangers. Allegedly.
Allegedly!
His name's very clearly there. In his username, signed at the end of his first post, and along with those, a link to his IMDb, Wikipedia, and an article from Animation Magazine. Wow, Jack, we get it. According to his first post, he wrote the series Bible for his good friend, Haim Saban. Look, I'm not necessarily doubting it, but I can't prove it either. And as you'll see later on, you can't blame me for being skeptical that Haim Saban and Jack Olesker were OMG besties.
but she's still my bestie.
Hey, I doubt it.
Jack says he was only involved during the development, creation, and first season. The replies were surprisingly not as skeptical as you would think they would be, especially considering the first comment implies being jaded. However, by this point, it wasn't unheard of for people involved with the show to make appearances on RangerBoard. One example is Sally Martin, the actress who plays Blue Ranger Tori in Power Rangers Ninja Storm. I will note that Jack's account, username Olesker, apparently made at least 153 posts. What those posts were are kind of lost to time. The original threads are no longer accessible, partially due to RangerBoard switching from vBulletin, a forum service/software, to Zenforo in 2020. I had to use the Wayback Machine to even see these threads. Thankfully, links to the threads were documented and preserved by Lisa J., former RangerBoard moderator and host of the No Pink Spandex podcast. For the few who remember Jack Olesker, he's known for claiming he wrote the series Bible for Power Rangers. And one does exist. Here's a picture of one in the hands of Tommy himself, Jason David Frank. Rest in peace. But I'm willing to bet that this version came way later. As for proof that Olesker really did write the original series Bible, 5 days after his initial thread, Olesker would start a new one. Olesker's new PR series challenge to you.
This is Nathan for you.
And the first post is something I can't make up. I'm just going to read the first half of it. This would be the post that would set Jack Olesker's name in the annals of Power Rangers fandom history. For a moment, let's say the phone rings. You pick it up, and on the other end is my good friend, Jay Francis, the Disney Channel's VP of Original Series Development. Jay starts by telling you something you already know. Namely, that Disney spent $5.3 billion to acquire the rights to the Power Rangers franchise, and that while they've done pretty well with it, interest in the series has declined, and with it, revenues, toy and merchandise licensing sales. Jay then tells you he's been told by his boss to do something to energize the series, and that's why he's calling you. Your heart is now like a trip hammer at 92% of its maximum heartbeat rate. He's putting the ball in your hands. Then you start thinking about it. While you sure don't want to lose the assignment, you tell Jay, but you guys have tried that before. He laughs and says, "You're telling me, what, like 16 times?" He pauses, then says, "I'm looking for something entirely new, something earth-shattering. Maybe a new locale, a new dimension, a new time. I don't know. I'm calling you because you're not one of those cookie-cutter Hollywood writers. You're a fan. From what I've learned about you, you're a genius. Dazzle me with your brilliance." You're ready to start, but let's come back to reality for a second. Jay's right. You are just a fan. Nothing wrong with that, but it means you don't have a lot of experience in working with broadcasters, so you're not 100% sure what Jay and Disney are really looking for. And what's often important is not what you want, but what the broadcaster wants. Sure, they want success, but they define success differently than you do, for a variety of reasons. No need to second guess this because, lucky you, you've got me as a consultant. So before you develop that series, let me give you a few bits of advice from the perspective of someone who's been in the children's entertainment industry for a long time. I'm sure some of you see what's going on here, but let me summarize the whole post anyway. He's soliciting pitches to take to Disney from fans. I just want to mention, this is highly unethical, if not illegal.
That's illegal.
Sure, there's some implied consent here, as these pitches are being submitted knowingly with this purpose. But this ain't the kind of thing you can just ask for and do without lengthy contract negotiations. Add to that, this is an unsanctioned contest that uses Power Rangers as a primary part of it. You can't use trademarked and copyrighted terms in promotional pieces without permission. A big mainstream example is the Super Bowl, outside of legitimate news coverage, of course. This applies to Power Rangers as well. You can't make a contest around it. That's a promotion. Of course, that would be okay if Jack Olesker actively worked on the show at the time of the post, as well as had the authority to put out such a contest. Just very irresponsible in my opinion. Well, who is he? Be kind and rewind back to that list of links he dropped in his introductory thread. First, his Wikipedia. Anyone who has a Wikipedia article is certainly notable. Oh, it's gone. Maybe check the history. Oh, that's not available. Nor is the Talk tab where contributors can discuss the article. With some easy URL copy and pasting, we can find the revision history, and it's got 2 entries. One edit made on July 3rd, 2008 by user RJD0060. Nothing noteworthy other than marking it's a biography of a living person, subject to extra scrutiny on Wikipedia. The next edit was from February 9th, 2009 by a user named Ryulong. Oh, this guy's his own can of worms in the fandom. Thankfully, the Wayback Machine archived it. According to the archived version, Jack Olesker has created over 1,000 produced television episodes, 9 films, and 6 novels. These include The Littles, Care Bears,
Sunshine Bear! Wait!
and Super Mario Bros.
Do the Mario!
Can't speak for the rest, but the Mario show makes sense.
Plumber's Log, number 603.
The music was done by Haim Saban and frequent collaborator Shuki Levy, who technically also has a claim to being Power Rangers creator as its co-producer. I'm just saying, there's most likely a long line of people ahead of Jack Olesker who are closer to claiming that distinction. Anyway, back to old Jackie boy. His Wikipedia page does mention that he worked on Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, specifically the Americanization of Super Sentai, though nothing about the series Bible. He did write the series Bible for He-Man, and no, not the He-Man cartoon that everyone remembers that's in a lot of memes. But he's still done this kind of work. The rest of his article mentions his novels, as well as being the president of Ken Creative Studio, with offices located in India and the United States. It also mentions him writing the screenplay, directing, and co-producing a major animated film called Ninja Knights, When Warrior Worlds Collide.
When worlds collide.
This is a last-minute recording. He uploaded the trailer just a few days ago. Yeah, I can kind of get when things are in development, they may not look as clean, but what is this? Even for like a concept, the animation is just so janky. Anyway, it's on YouTube now. Look up Ninja Knights When Warrior Worlds Collide. Wow.
At last, he is ready to use his magic to save his kingdom. When he does, the Knights of Pelcliff are transformed into bigger and stronger heroes.
The IMDb page linked in the thread isn't his personal one. Rather, it's the general page for Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. It seems pretty innocuous. Wow, the old IMDb layout really takes me back. Oh, god damn it, he listed himself as creator. Going to the modern version of this page lists Haim Saban and producer Shuki Levy. His personal IMDb page today lists his work on Power Rangers as story co-developer, uncredited. Yeah, anyone can edit IMDb, but like, what are the chances that a random individual would go and insert Jack Olesker, of all people, as the creator to a show with a very niche audience? I also found him on He-Man.org, happily answering fan questions, something he's quite well known for. Enough for that to be mentioned on his page in the He-Man wiki. This brings us back to, well, Power Rangers, where it looks like he attempted to do something similar. The only difference is, he has no hard ties to Power Rangers. Everything he says is word of mouth as far as we're concerned. He does not have a single credit between any of the episodes of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. This includes the first episode, Day of the Dumpster, of which his IMDb lists specifically as the episode he was uncredited for. I mean, duh, that's what uncredited means. I also checked the 1999 Lost episode pilot, which was a different cut with scenes that would later be entirely reshot. The release of it on the Power Rangers Season 4 through 7 DVD set includes the credits, which have no mention of Jack Olesker's involvement. It's one thing to say you wrote the Bible after working and getting credit on a show. At least you have some sort of credibility to your name, but no one knew who Jack Olesker was in the Power Ranger space, and people still don't. Even if he did have some involvement, the fact of the matter is that he was never officially tied to it. What is he accomplishing by putting it out there that he's the creator of Power Rangers when he has nothing to show for it? Turns out he's got a pattern of claiming this for Power Rangers, and he's never once backed it up. He's mentioned Power Rangers among his lineup of work several times, and none of them with any real proof. The front page of his website says he co-created Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. His list of works on the same site lists him as a co-developer. Huh, didn't he call himself the creator of Power Rangers on RangerBoard? And now co-developer is a thing. It's not a case of these two being similar. In Hollywood, credits like this actually matter. Changing or claiming a new title is not only unprofessional, but in some way you're cheating someone out of that hard work that they did who actually worked that title. Granted, it's Haim Saban, but the principle still stands. Outside of his own website, he's used Power Rangers as, for a lack of a better way to describe it, clout. Here he is in 2013 posing with workers at a restaurant with a bunch of staff calling him famous and referring to him as the creator of Power Rangers, as well as some other titles. Aladdin, Beauty and the Beast, Pinocchio, but not the Disney ones. I doubt that's what the restaurant staff thought of. It also lists Ninja Turtles, which, Jack, that's not even on your website or IMDb. But it was on the old and now gone Jack Olesker Wikipedia page. But sure, he didn't make the post. Perhaps the restaurant was mistaken. Fine. But how about him in 2020 when he told a limo rental service Power Rangers was one of his creations and signing a Power Rangers DVD cover for them? Do they just have that lying around, or Like many in the industry, he rightfully so in some aspects, has made appearances in many a nerd culture podcasts.
Anybody that really knows the entertainment industry knows Haim's background. He owns the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers.
Correction, as of November 2022, when this podcast was made, Power Rangers has been under the ownership of Hasbro, not Saban, and this has been the case since they bought it in 2018.
I bought something that ran in Japan in the 70s. He says, I want you to see it. So I get in my car, drive out to Burbank, which was where his studios were.
Technically, Saban's studios at the time were in Valencia, California, not Burbank. That wouldn't happen until 2001 when Disney came in.
All right, so where's he live? 1992 Valencia Road. Valencia Road, yeah.
So she subs in the video cassette. Again, no DVDs back then. And I start to watch it, and it's Power Rangers. And I remember this, guys, like yesterday.
Like yesterday, huh? He says Saban tried to sell the show for about 3 years. What's interesting is that he mentions watching footage and seeing aliens and a witch. Accurate description for Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, which feature aliens and a witch. But it's well known that other seasons of Japan's Super Sentai were considered for Power Rangers. The first being Bioman, and later a revolving door of shows like Fiveman and Jetman. For some of them, you can make a case for having aliens, but none of them had witches or any villains who looked like a witch. Why does this matter? Every season of Super Sentai is written and aired on a yearly basis. At most, the writing team would only have a year to prepare. If there was footage shot for Olesker to see, it would have been before or around the time of the airing of Zyuranger, the dinosaur-themed counterpart to Mighty Morphin Power Rangers in Japan. If you were writing a series Bible that close to when it actually aired, that barely leaves enough room for the show to be shopped around.
I love you.
It also doesn't take into account the turnaround time to produce a pilot episode. He most likely would have had to have been involved much earlier, which poses problems. One, there's no way he would have known there was a witch until the decision was made to adapt Zyuranger, a whole year at most before Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. So this puts Mighty Morphin's original pilot episode out of the running. Two, there's a famous piece of Power Rangers Lost Media called the Bioman pilot, an entirely separate piece made using footage from Bioman. Bits of footage from that would later be repurposed for the Galaxy Rangers promo, later included in Shout Factory DVD releases. Could Olesker have been involved in that? Well, considering the lack of a witch, probably not.
I'm, of course, after 3 years schlepping this series around that I wrote the series Bible for, finally he got a pickup at Fox Kids, Fox Network, and started Fox Kids Network from that.
Miss Jackson. Miss Jackson?
And another red flag is Olesker talking about dubbing the show.
He said, it's all in Japanese. Haim doesn't want you to know what the old show was about. He says he wants you to create an entirely new show, and then all he has to do is hire voiceover artists for the first 35 episodes. He spent like $10,000 for each episode.
And yes, dubbing is part of the show's process, but that's in addition to filming additional scenes.
Power dagger!
Something which he doesn't mention, and in this interview he lists the budget for each episode of the show is around $10,000 per episode, which isn't a whole lot of money, which leads me to believe that he thought the show was going to be voice acted. I'll have Haim Saban answer that.
But to Haim Saban, it also looked like an opportunity.
And then I realized in all the action sequences, there were no faces shown. And it kind of dawned on me. I could shoot an American segment and incorporate it with the action sequences, which is always the more expensive part of a show.
Well, that just confirms that from the start, Saban wanted to film original footage and not just dub over it. I mean, Saban coming up with that idea is a very well-known story, so I don't quite buy it. And you know who else didn't buy it? The actual people working on the show at the time.
I just wish we could all get along like we used to in middle school.
She doesn't even go here.
So I mentioned that people actually involved with Power Rangers were on RangerBoard. One of them was Jackie Marchand, longtime writer for the show through several seasons. She apparently warned the fans about Olesker, though the thread that was in is now locked. We know this exists thanks to Lisa J linking to the locked thread in her recounting the situation on LiveJournal. And that's not all. Bruce Kalish. Kalish? He was the former executive producer of Power Rangers during its Disney run. Apparently, he didn't have all that great of an impression of Olesker. And I can't confirm or deny this, but he was supposedly responsible for bringing Olesker's competition to Disney. This is written on RangerWiki, which weirdly lists a RangerBoard thread looking back at the event years later as a source. Yeah, we're really strapped for primary sources here. I suspect there's more information lost to time in locked forum threads, but Kalish did leave this post on Lisa J's RangerBoard profile. This was in response to someone calling Olesker the C word. I am totally embarrassed and ashamed that someone did that to Mr. Olesker. If someone ever called me a name on this board, I'd. Just below Kalish's post is Olesker's, where he pulls a Karen and asks Lisa J, as a member of the moderation team, if they're even doing their job, allowing someone to call him a
Runt! This kitten, he's such a runt! I'm gonna name you Runty! You're such a little raging little runt!
Welcome to the internet. With all this comes the end of the line. On February 6, 2009, Jack Olesker would make this post. To all involved, to Jay Francis and to Walt Disney Television Animation, I have this morning received communication from Jay Francis at Walt Disney Television Animation indicating the statements that you made in the posting are not true. By this letter, I'm requesting that you please post on the board a retraction of your original posting, correcting the misstatements that you made, and that you also take down your original posting from the RangerBoard. I'd read the whole thing, but it's very long. I'll link it in the description. It's one of the few threads still up. Walt Disney said hell no and put a stop to Olesker's antics. We don't know if it's a proper legal cease and desist, but it may as well be. They put their foot down, hard, and understandably. Power Rangers may have been at the end of its rope with Disney, but it was still their brand at the time. It wasn't Olesker's to throw around contests for. Allegedly, it was Bruce Kalish who was the one who brought it to Jay Francis, then VP of Original Series Development at Disney, on whether Olesker was actually his friend. Francis allegedly would say, "Who?" This information comes from RangerBoard user Watcher Mark. Of course, can't confirm this, not a primary source. But if true, it makes this whole situation even funnier. What if Haim Saban and Jay Francis weren't really his friends?
Oh, she is as fake as press-on nails. Hey, baby girl!
Watcher Mark actually gives a pretty decent summary of all this. Sorry I made you watch this whole video and not just read you his post. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Olesker would then leave RangerBoard. He would start another thread announcing his departure, though the original post has long since been deleted. The last thing about his time on RangerBoard worth mentioning was this post thanking someone for defending him. Though he says he's moving on, he drops an interesting tidbit in that he apparently gave Lisa J an early email with details about where he was heading with the whole contest. We can probably guess what happened to that email.
Merry Christmas, Miss Lemon.
Oh, thank you, Kenneth.
The tale of Jack Olesker is quite the journey. He's a man with an admittedly impressive history working on animation on projects like He-Man, Care Bears, Super Mario Bros., Supershow, you name it. He was actually involved in that. But his relationship with Power Rangers is an odd case. It's a show that he was barely a part of, if at all. Let's assume he did have a part of it. With such a task as creating the series Bible, it's really odd that such a large part of the show's formation doesn't earn him a credit somewhere. Maybe I'm naive to how Bibles work and this type of thing is common. I mean, we all know actors and members of production sometimes get no credit. But to go and say you're the creator is too huge a title to be going around and saying. The baffling part about all this is that he's never once brought proof. And I'm not expecting him to show us the Bible itself, but there's no reasonable evidence for us to believe him. If I'm being honest, if he can prove to us he's worked on the show, then that's great. But then I'd ask why he didn't just do that in the first place. Even if he did have an involvement, he should know better than to solicit ideas from fans. That's not okay, no matter how you tie it up in a bow. Something similar happened with Brian Hill, a screenwriter who's currently attached to Jonathan Entwistle's Power Rangers project. Except he wasn't asking. He didn't want to see those pitches, and he actually has ties to the show. For some reason, Olesker would rather prove his own identity and not his work, which is understandable if you're some person of notoriety, some sort of celebrity who's prone to being impersonated, or someone the fandom was actually already aware of who had worked on the show, but before this, no one knew who he was, so no one cared. But some of the things he posted just to prove himself were bizarre. He posted unnecessary details about himself to prove his identity, even when no one asked. From his initial thread, where he first claimed he was the creator of Power Rangers, he says, "How about Haim's wife's name is Cheryl. Haim owned a couple of falafel stands in Israel. My dad's name was Tom, but he changed it from Isidore. And during the time I lived in Chick Go's Lake Point Tower, writing my first novel, No Place Like Home, back in 1975, I had an Irish setter named Amber who liked to be walked at midnight in the middle of winter blizzards." Now, if anyone besides me knows that kind of stuff about Haim and Jack Olesker, then I'm scared. Really scared. Oh man, I'd be afraid too if people knew how to use Google. It isn't that hard to find out he wrote a book. It also isn't that hard to find out information about who Haim Saban was married to. His wife Cheryl's been on his Wikipedia page since June 2006. 3 whole years before this ordeal. And I bet it's not that hard to Google who the creator of Power Rangers was. But then giving out information, his parents' names, his dog, that's weird, because it doesn't prove who he is. Also, no one cares enough to prove his identity. He's really not that big a figure. If he really was who he said he was, the fans would have believed him off of proof that he worked on the show alone. Again, this isn't doubt that he's Jack Olesker. It's doubt that Jack Olesker created Power Rangers and /or has the authority to hold a contest involving it. This is literally a Chris Chan moment. My man is giving addresses out.
Hello, my name is Christian Weston Chandler from Rutgers, Virginia.
As we've seen, Jack Olesker is still out there claiming Power Rangers with no proof whatsoever to anyone and everyone who will listen. Something he says he's proud of saying.
And I'm also proud to say that I created the original development work for Mighty Morphin Power Rangers for Saban Entertainment.
Why the fuck you lying? Why?
After the disastrous events that unfolded on RangerBoard, it seems Jack Olesker can't let Power Rangers go. I understand taking credit if it's something you truly worked on, but had he been a part of it, he was only there for a tiny blip of it. An amount so small that it frankly outweighs the title he's given himself. As mentioned before, he still holds on to this day. I for one see no effort from Olesker to drop it. It's now being associated with him, but was it really his? Jack Olesker already had He-Man and the other projects he'd worked on, but I guess it's not enough. Like Angelica Schuyler from Hamilton, he'll never be satisfied. And now his name has been written in the pages and echoes through the walls of the cave of deep lore of crazy moments in Power Rangers fandom history. Thanks for watching. Sorry for the long break since my last video. Please like and subscribe. Also, I want to hear your pitches for a Power Rangers series. I promise I won't bring them to an executive at Hasbro. You can also hang out with me on Discord and Twitch, where I stream frequently. You can find links for both as well as my Twitter in the description.
Let's go one-on-one.